Morning, everybody. Welcome back, Sawmill. My name's Bill. It's Pirate Solutions Forestry, and it got cold. Campwood selling like crazy. It was in the 40s last night. It's around 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning, and I'm trying to get my day started here. We did a bunch of cleanup yesterday. I did shoot a video yesterday. I don't know if you guys are ever going to see it or not. We did a bunch of cleanup, and we unboxed that pallet for my new molder planer for the sawmill. And they didn't send me my track extension. I should have seen that. It's kind of a crappy video just because of that we got into the unboxing and everything else, and we stored it all the way in here. But I'm kind of bummed out. I was going to put that extension on this week. And now the sawmill's kind of going to sit. I've got to shift over. I don't really have any customer cutting right now. Got some customers with logs in their yards that are pain to go get and get out of where they are, and it's just not worth it to do right now. But I'm just going to do some firewood, fill my campwood bins back up. They've been getting pillaged every night, and add to my firewood pile because it was 62 degrees in the house this morning. It's going to be time to start burning, so, or at least what I call is ambiance burning right now. Little one arm load in the morning just to warm up the house kind of stuff if it's cold like this. And I figure I'll sharpen up the 372. I want to put some time on it, and it's really the only saw I have with a chain that needs to be sharpened. And I'll do some cutting in the new slab wood rack, do some splitting. I did burn outside yesterday a little bit last night. It was kind of nice having a fire outside. I burned a bunch of cedar. Man, the whole neighborhood smelled great. It was awesome. And I burned all the cardboard from opening up that pallet. I graded out the mill yard, letting some of it dry, cleaned up a bunch of all the construction debris that we had lying around from all the stuff that we built last week. If you didn't watch those videos, go back and watch those videos. And now I'm kind of just like in La La Land a little bit. Kind of bummed out. I was really looking forward to putting another 8 feet on that mill. And Norwood's still going to send it to me. I'm not really sure how the wires got crossed or what happened, but I got a message out to them this morning, and they'll get the stuff out to me, and then we'll put it on. And it's going to change our whole area around the sawmill, which I'll show you when we get to sharpening that thing. So Robert Milton's been on fire putting out videos lately. Lots of stuff about the sawmill business. If you don't follow Robert Milton at Hobby Hardwoods Alabama, you really should. He's I think what I said to him once upon a time, he is going to be a gift to other generations. He's definitely a gift to the sawmill business. He knows his crap. He is. The forestry business, the firewood business, logging business are run by, in a lot of cases, by kind of roughnecks. People that go out there, seat of the pants, hard work, long days, probably not the type of people that trust accountants and are looking forward to paying their taxes and have a great relationship with their insurance company, follow all the rules. First thing they think about on the job site is, how can I comply with OSHA regulations? You don't find many of those folks out there, but Robert is the exception to the rule. And he is the guy that follows the rules. There is a way to do things. And some might not agree with everything that he says, but you can guarantee that what he says is 100% true. That there, when he talks about getting yard trees and how yard trees cost money to a sawmill. And a big sawmill, yeah, you're right, they won't take yard trees. But to poo-poo yard trees, it's all really that I have here as a source of income, I think is a little bit silly. Now, I don't grade saw high-end hardwoods and kiln dry them and retail them to customers. That's not my business. My business is to take what a customer needs and cut it for them. Robert's on a different level. Robert is a hardwood wholesaler retailer, and a very good one. Very, very well respected. One of the best in the country. He's sawing a different type of grade and a different type of wood than I am. He is kiln drying it. He is surfacing it on 4 sides. He throws out stuff that would be gold to me. Stuff that most people cut and they're looking for figure. He's looking for perfect straight grain. Now he cuts for figure too, and he sells slabs and stuff like that also, but that's not really his bread and butter. His bread and butter is that perfect cherry board that's S4S, that's got perfectly straight grain and is going to behave nicely to that high-end furniture maker. And that's where he, kind of lives in that realm, aside from other realms as well. But in his business, everything is by the book. The logs that he buys have got to be the way that he wants them, and he pays a good price for them. If somebody doesn't bring him good logs, he's probably not going to buy them from that person. His insurance is, like he was talking about in his video the other day, he's been through 4 or 5 insurance companies. His insurance has got to be just right for his property, and he deeded his property to meet his insurance needs and his liability risk. And his accountants, he's got not only accountant, but financial advisors who look at his numbers and say, you need to do this, you need to do that. And he's going to listen to them. When he saws a log, there's a right way and a wrong way. There's a right machine. There's a right band. There's a right speed. There's a right way and a wrong way to saw a log. And if you don't do it kind of his way, then you're doing it the wrong way. And he's really a great watch because you get a lot of very, very valuable, high-end, truthful information out of him that if you want to go to that next level, you should probably pay attention. Some of us don't want to. I don't want to mass produce wholesale and retail lumber. That's not the reason that I started this sawmill. I started the sawmill to get away from that. I started the sawmill to get away from the race for money. I lived my whole life in the race for money. And during COVID, it just went insane. I was so busy for so many years that I decided to step back, and I gave up several portions, including my seafood business that I'd done for years and years and years, because I was sick of chasing money. This is my kind of soft retirement business. Now I want to be busy, but I don't want to chase money, volume, and structure constantly. I can be completely happy coming out here and having a bonfire and sharpening a chainsaw one day. It doesn't have to be anything super, super structured. Now, that plays with my anxiety a little bit, because my anxiety still needs structure and money, and I haven't learned yet, I haven't recalibrated yet into what I'll call a more laid back lifestyle. You know, I'm completely happy if I make $500 a week. I'm completely happy. No worry in the world to me. I'm my mindset is changing, and I'm not chasing the dollar anymore. I'd rather interact with customers and have a little bit of fun and have something that I can do and sustain my body without wearing myself out any more than I already am for a long time. A job or two a week is perfectly fine with me. We'll see how it goes down the road. You know, whether I hire somebody to come out and start ramping things up a little bit, or move myself out of here into a bigger commercial operation, I don't know. I hope not. I'd rather just hang out here with Danny the dog and drink coffee and work 4 or 5 hours every day and call it a day. That's more way that's worth way more to me than money. If you're up and coming in the sawmill business, or you're thinking about starting a sawmill business, I can tell you 100%, you want to take a look at Robert and watch his videos. Just binge the hell out of them. Lots of great information. You will learn tons and tons and tons about the right way to do things, and his way of doing things. You know, there are a lot of right and wrong ways of doing things, guys. One thing that I will not ever say to you is that if you do things different than me, or if you take yard trees, you're wrong. Obviously, you can make a lot of money on yard trees, guys. Especially if you're, just say like George at Middlefield Custom Sawmills, or like Matt Cremona. There's a lot of money to be made in yard trees. These guys got to pay to throw these things out. Do headaches come along with them? Sure they do. But when you guys see me cut up a black oak for a job and make $500 off of it, a tree that cost me nothing, and I don't care in my business if I have a tree that sits and goes bad. I've got poplars up here that I don't see any future in. And at some point, I'm going to have to figure out how to dispose of them. But if a tree, you know, if I get a cherry log that ends up not turning into lumber and ends up being firewood, I don't care. I didn't pay for it. It doesn't hurt me. We're going to do our best to take everything that comes in and use it in some respect. And as our business, let's, instead of saying grows, expands, because that's what happens with word of mouth. My business expands into different things, you know, cutting bowl blanks for people, or firewood, or whether it ends up being landscaping stakes out of some of my small oak logs, or wood chips. You know, as maybe I'll get a chipper and chip my slab piles, and even either give away or sell wood chips. I mean, I'd give them away, but maybe sell them. Who knows? But we're going to stick with our effort of trying to take these trees that are bound for the landfill and turn them into usable product for people, for sheds and flower boxes, and outside cabanas, or slab tops at your grill, or a cabin, or timber frame, or whatever. We're gonna keep at it, and we're gonna do what we can do to push forward that primary goal of ours, which is live kind of the lifestyle that we want to live, and keep some of these trees from ending up in the landfill. So this isn't going to be a how to sharpen a chainsaw video. I'm going to sharpen a chainsaw. This isn't going to be a how-to. It's more of a just a coffee talk video. While I'm sharpening a chainsaw, I can always tell on my chains how sharp they are, not just by the feedback from the actual cutting, but how dirty the teeth are. And these are pretty dirty. This file's not super sharp here. Let's see if I can suffer through it, or I'll just use a new one. I have one all queued up here. All I'm doing right now is just returning my angles back to factory from the last time that this is a chain that actually, if you guys watched the video that we broke on the Bobcat, this is the chain that we hit on the Bobcat, and I did the repair video on how to repair a broken chain with no spinner and no breaker by hand. I'm still running this one on this saw. Cuts great. Somewhere when I was bucking down a log, I did knock off a couple of corners on this. And obviously in touching it up once upon a time, I got my angles just a little bit steep. All I'm doing right now is just matching them to the factory witness mark on here, making sure my working corner's nice and sharp. This saw probably, when I cut firewood today, is going to get beat up a little bit. I'd be really interested to know in the comments what some of your philosophies are on your business, or if you are interested in starting a firewood or a tree business or something like that, and what your philosophies are on business. I do like Robert's take on the insurance side and how disciplined he is with his business. He's very disciplined. And if you are looking to start a family and want to have a big house and nice cars and all that stuff, and you want to do this kind of work, then you really need to be disciplined in how you do things. It's going to make it easier on you. Nothing about these businesses are easy. These businesses are hard on equipment. They're hard on your wallet. They're hard on your body. And if you want to have the best experience and the best time and work efficiently and make the most money, then you should listen. You should really watch Robert's video. Take some of what he says to heart, because it's the very good philosophies for business in general. Doesn't have to be sawmill centric. Businesses in general, well, especially a lot of the stuff about liability insurance and things like that. And you're exposing yourself to liability. You know, if you go around, even if you're a carpenter and you're working at people's houses, you know, I could give you examples of doing, when I was a finish carpenter, having a brand new pine, beautifully finished pine floor in a house, and having the customer bringing in tradespeople, and the tradespeople beat up their floors. You know, they did it out of order. But something as simple as putting in cabinets and having a bit fall out of a screw gun with a Torx set on it, a Torx bit in it, fall out of a screw gun, land on the floor and put a ding in the floor. And then that customer saying, you know, to the tradespeople, just Joe Schmo tradespeople that don't make $1 million. Hey, you're going to replace my floor. Something like that, it would, if you're just a little guy running out of a pickup truck trying to make a couple of bucks, you know, Joe Handyman type, and you do that, that's going to devastate you. And having that liability insurance to protect you in case something like that happens. And God forbid, you know, Robert was talking a lot about, you know, people that do it on purpose, because there are people out there like that. And let's just say you were the last guy in. Let's say you didn't make the ding, but that homeowner comes in and they see that ding in the floor and they say, you're refinishing this floor. You say, I didn't do it. Well, then that becomes a matter for lawyers. And most Joe Schmo guys out there, you know, you're not going to have that lawyer. Maybe that homeowner does. And if they're mad enough about it, they're going to get you, especially when they just spent a shit pile of money to get this perfect house and they see that ding in the floor. Maybe they made the ding in the floor. Who knows? Maybe one of their kids did it. And the kid didn't want to own up to it. But still, you got to protect yourself. Let's say that in my situation, an applicable situation would be, let's say somebody comes in and buys a piece of wood from me and I don't know what their use is, but it's just a piece of wood. They say, hey, can you cut me a 2x12 in pine, 14 feet long? I say, sure. Cut you a 2x12 in pine, 14 feet long. And they go and they take that and they put it in their house. I haven't kiln dried it, right? It's just a 2x4. It's just a rough sawn 2x, I think I said 2x12. Just a rough sawn 2x12. They put that in their house. They make a beam out of it. You know, like maybe turn it sideways and stick it up on a ceiling so you can kind of see it sticking out like a faux beam. Maybe it's a 4x12. And then 6 months later, they see little piles of dust on the floor. And they call in an exterminator, and the exterminator says, oh, there's powder post beetles in this pine. Now, it could have come from me. They could have been in there when I sold the 4x12 and didn't know what the use was for it, whether you're going to build an outdoor cabana or an outdoor shower or whatever. But then the exterminator said, what they could have been in their house, you know, and gone into the wood. I had the back and forth with a guy that had an old barn one time about wood that he was drying. And then the exterminator says, well, we got to treat your whole house. You know, who knows how far that could go? You know, what if it was a new house? And they got to rip walls down and treat stuff, and the exterminator treats it as something that's like endemic. Yeah, that could be a monster bill. And would it be my fault? No. It would be my fault, like if Robert Milton was watching this, and Robert Milton would say, well, it is your fault because you sold buggy wood to somebody. Well, you got to understand too that rough sawn pine is sold every day, not kiln dried in this country, every single day. there are bound to be powder post beetles and a lot of rough sawn pine. I had, with my ex, we had a cabin in the Catskills. It was built in 1973. Farmer milled the lumber on his farm, built this cabin on top of the hill in 14 acres, and my ex bought it in 75, I think. And we used to go out a few times a year just to hang out. No running water, no electricity, just a getaway. And when we would get out there, the first thing we had to do was clean up because the mice had taken over. And it was a beautiful cabin. But since 73, nothing's ever broken, and the cabin is still beautiful and sound, and nothing's come apart. The only thing I ever had to repair really was when trees would fall on it and poke a hole through the roof, and I have to go up there, pull the roof off, the shingles off, and replace a board that had smashed in. And the boards were like the day they milled them, and I'm talking about 10 years ago. So I'm talking about 2014, 15. And this place was built in 1973 of rough sawn pine off this farmer's property. But when we go in to clean up, there'd be little dust piles all over the place. All the big logs and everything, they had powder post beetles in them. And that structure is there. See, 2013. So let's just say 40 years. 40 years untreated pine sitting on stumps and rocks for legs underneath it. Fireplace that he burned whole 4-foot logs in. Huge stone fireplace that he built out of rocks that he picked up on the ground. And it's just still a beautiful structure 40 years later. And there's bugs in the wood, no doubt about it. Now, not tons and tons and tons, but you'd go in the kitchen table, there'd be little piles of sawdust all over it, and we'd have to vacuum it up, and the mice are in there, and the chipmunks are in there, and everything else. But it's very, very common in non-killed and dried rough sawn lumber. And you give it to the wrong person in the wrong application, and you could be in for it. So you're one side done. I'm going to flip the other side, flip your view, so you're not looking at my back. But something like that, like putting bugs in somebody's house, especially if it's a new build, that could be a serious bill. Something that would devastate the average guy. So I love a lot of his points about liability insurance and making sure that your liability insurance is tailored to your business so that it protects you. He's saying, there are certain, oh, look at that. There are certain things that could happen that might not be covered. Wow, this tooth hit something. This tooth needs a reshaping. Right now I'm taking the gullet out underneath. It was really dinged up. And I'm just straightening the edge. There we go. There's a couple more passes on the top. This file's getting whooped. This is going to be the last trip for this file, probably. Working with your insurance agent and your lawyer, like Robert said, to make sure that all your affairs are in order to protect you and to protect your customers, but protect you in some respects from your customers, because they don't always have your best interests. As a matter of fact, I would say that unless you're like me, where you're selling a lot to friends and things like that, most of the time the customer really doesn't have your best interests in mind. I don't know any business where they really do. They don't care about your best interest. They care about their best interest. And that's a reality of business that I think he highlights very effectively. You know, one thing that he said in his video was never allow a customer on your personal property. That's a pretty big one. You know, I have customers on our personal property all the time. It's kind of my thing. It'll make you think twice about allowing them around the sawmill, I'll tell you that. Maybe a better thing would be never on that sawmill with customers around, but I have guys bring out walnut logs and things like that in the back of a trailer, in the back of a pickup truck or something, have me mill them up for them, and they're pulling slabs off and stuff. You know, they're there to help. They're not there to hose me. They're there to help. And we're talking about life and politics and whatever, and having a good old time here around the sawmill. And I'd like to think that that life exists, and it can exist. I don't want to think that every person is coming out here to, or I would like to say that I would like to think that nobody that comes on my property is here to screw me. But Robert's point is that you have to protect yourself, because there are people out there that do. He had caught somebody, if you watch his video, and you should watch his video, he had caught somebody purposely trying to make a claim. And one thing that I would say is that God forbid somebody do that on my property. That'd be a bad day for them. And I wouldn't worry about a review on Yelp about it either. Oh, he was rude to me as I was trying to steal from him. You notice one thing about when I'm sharpening a saw for myself, I'm not making it sharp unless I'm working and it's maintenance. When I'm doing a saw like this for myself, I'm making it perfect. I'm not making it sharp. I'm making it perfect. I'm making it beyond sharp. Perfect angles, perfect hook. If you want to watch videos about sharpening, you can watch some of mine. Explain a lot of this stuff. What I'm doing now is I'm making sure that my working corner is prickly sharp, my lines are straight, everything is filed, and it's at the right angle. My teeth are getting cleaned off as I go here. I think if I can see the top of the tooth, get that dirt off, I can make the tooth better if I can see it better. Because right now, all I'm going by is visual. That one is not enough angle. Now, I will give the rakers a once-over. I'd probably check them almost every time I sharpen, so if I did them last time, then they're going to be good, but I will check them. But to get back to business, I think that you got to answer a lot of questions before you can expect somebody else to understand what you're doing. You got to understand what you're doing too. You got to be able to sit down with an insurance company, and when they say, "Well, what do?" You got to know what do you. That's a valid question. What do you do? What are we insuring here? You got to know. Maybe you haven't asked yourself that. What are you trying to do? If it's tree work, maybe they're going to say, well, how big a tree? How high are you going to go up? Who's going to do it? What are you going to use to get up in that tree? Because all those things make a difference. If you just say, well, there's a big difference between doing groundwork and doing work at height. So let's just say, well, we have cranes and machines take trees down. It's a lot different than saying, well, I'm going to hire high school kids to climb the tree and cut the tree up. And they're going to climb with ropes. What's your training program is going to be like that for that? Oh, there's not going to be any training programs. Probably wouldn't be the smartest business model, but there are a lot of tree guys out there that work like that. A lot. I've got friends that work that way. They try to be as safe as they can, but there's nothing safe. Nothing. Take it from somebody who worked a lot of years as an erector, and I went up 9 stories. Putting buildings together. One thing I can promise you, OSHA or no OSHA, there is nothing safe about going up off the ground and doing work of any type. Nothing safe about it. You are not safe on scaffolding. You are not safe tied off. There are things that can mitigate the danger, but you're never safe. Once you get up off the ground and you can fall down and hit it, the ground, there's nothing safe about that at all. And OSHA knows that. I am as educated and certified, a certified person when it comes to OSHA. I have more certifications than you can possibly imagine. I'm actually certified to teach the 10-hour OSHA course, which I would say is a bare minimum. Companies that I ran and worked in, we mandated that all of our employees were at minimum 10 hours OSHA certified. We got certified to teach the OSHA course so that we could teach our employees so we didn't have to pay for them to go out and do it. Yeah, I thought these rakers felt a little bit high. And then what we would do is when we were slow, we had a little bit of time off, we would take all these crazy OSHA courses all the time. I'm certified in, start at the beginning. I'm certified as what OSHA calls a competent person, which you would hope you are. I'm certified in lifting, rigging, confined spaces, HAZWOPER is what it's called. OSHA competent person, 30 hours OSHA certified to teach the 10-hour course. I'm certified in fall protection, confined spaces, I may have said that. and all the rules that go along with confined spaces. And HAZWOPER training, that delves into kind of emergency high-risk situations and how those job sites are locked down and maintained during that type of thing, say like a gas explosion or structure failure, things like that. I actually did a bunch of work for NASA doing substations for them out at Cape Canaveral. Someday I'll show you guys my badge. I still have my badge hanging up in my shop. I remember one day I was working out at NASA. And of course, when you work at NASA, you have to go through, or at Cape Canaveral for NASA, you have to go through you got to jump through a bunch of hoops. You know, you got to go and you have to have a FBI background check and a drug test to get on the base. First thing in the morning, you go through all the workers that are coming out to go to work have to go through this. Of course, I had a lot of illegals that worked for me back then. They were the only ones that could pass a drug test. My quote unquote, my white guys couldn't pass a drug test. So, and I am one of those anti-no drug people, so I don't do any type of anything. I don't even like aspirin. So they had to send me to those jobs, and I had to take a crew with me that could pass a drug test. The problem is that when I'd take the illegals with me, and they all had fake papers and stuff they buy at the consulate in Orlando. Some of them would get through the FBI background check, and some of them wouldn't. So I'd have to take extra 2 guys to that job every time I would go. And sometimes that was the last time you'd see that guy. They'd pass the drug test, and next thing you know, you'd have Billy, can I talk to you? Sure. Juan's not going to be joining you today. He they flagged him, and he's going back home. And sometimes Juan would be back in 2 weeks, and sometimes you'd never see Juan again. But as the story goes, I was doing a job out there one time, and they wanted me, I was flying concrete slabs, pre-stressed hollow core concrete slabs, and they wanted me the guys on site, the NASA engineers on site wanted me to use tag lines on the slabs, and it was a ridiculously little building. It was only 8 pieces. It's going to take me about 30 minutes to set it, and then we would grout the keyways, and we would be on our way. It was going to be an hour-and-a-half job total, in and out. And of course, they didn't want anybody else up on the building, so they wanted us to grout last. Normally, what I would do is I'd set 3 or 4 slabs, fly up a mixer and a pallet of cement and a super sack of sand, and the guys would start mixing right behind me and grouting keyways as I was doing it. And of course, they wouldn't allow that. So the first thing they wouldn't do is allow anybody up on the building. So I had a whole crew sitting around waiting, watching me set slabs. And they wanted me to use tag lines, and I said no. So they were being adamant about it, and they didn't understand why I wouldn't. And I said, well, because you way overdid your rebar. Your rebar is only supposed to be 3 feet high, and it's all 6 feet high. There's only supposed to be one every 8 inches, and there's one every 4 inches. There's way too much rebar up there. I know you're not going to allow me to cut any of it. They didn't want me to bend it out of my way, which normally that's what you do. Normally you go up, walk the building, and just bend all the rebar over a little bit. So it was kind of splayed out like that. So you put slabs in, and then before you'd leave, you'd straighten it all up. Well, they didn't want me to bend the rebar because, of course, you know, now we got engineers starting to talk about, well, if the rebar's bent, then you're ruining this part of it and blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, all that's going to happen with the tagline is every slab that I fly up here, it's going to get caught around your rebar and it's going to get ripped off. It's more dangerous to me because what happens is when the tagline gets caught around the rebar and the crane's swinging the slab, then it turns into a helicopter. And they said, well, no, that's what the taglines are for, is to keep that from happening. I said, yeah, but that's not what's going to happen. So they were adamant that I use taglines, and I said, okay, guys, well, we're out of here. And they said, well, no, this needs to be done today. I said, okay, well, you're going to have to find somebody else to do it because I'm not going to use taglines. It's too dangerous. There's too much rebar up there, and I'm not going to get knocked off this stupid little building that's going to take me 30 minutes to do because you guys don't understand what I'm doing. So they made a phone call that I was going to leave. And out comes, be right back. Yeah, sure. You picking up those boards? Yep. So to tie up this story, if I can remember where I left off, if you notice over my left shoulder, that wood's gone because kid just came to pick it up. To tie up the story, I know you guys are hanging on by the edge of your seats. So I'm getting ready to pack out of the job. And of course the engineers are, you can't leave, you can't leave. I'm like, oh, I can leave, watch. You guys hire me to do this because I'm the best at this and I can pass a drug test and I've been here a bunch of times and you like what I do. Well, they make the phone call. So out comes the boss man. Hippie as the day is long. He comes out. Now everybody else is in the full zoot suits with the hard hats and the safety glasses and the clipboards, just like you see on Armageddon. You know, the people in the background that are taking the notes, they all look like that on the job site. Out comes hippie boss. Guy was awesome. He comes out, he's got flip-flops on, shorts, some like, you know, button-up white shirt with a collar, no hard hat, crazy hair. You know, like he's the Caltech genius guy that, so he comes out, he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm out of here, dude. He's like, no, you can't leave. What are you talking about? We've been waiting to get you here to do this. I said, I understand, but they, you know, I told him the story. So he pulls all of his guys over and he's like, this kid here has more OSHA certifications than anybody we have on staff. You know, you guys need to listen to him. And so they're arguing back and forth. And I walked over to them and I said, guys, look, just do me a favor. Go walk and take a coffee break. Take a coffee break and go that way. Just take a walk. Come back in an hour and I'll be done. We'll be cleaning up, getting in our trucks and leaving. And so the boss man said to him, you want to get a coffee? And all these guys scattered off with him. They walked away. We pumped in the 8 slabs. We grouted it. We were done in like 45 minutes. Flew everything down off the building, packed everything in the truck, and away we went. And that's a God's honest, truthful story. But it was just so funny because out comes the boss man, you know, the smart guy. And he was just smart enough to understand that, hey, this is the guy you should be listening to. He knows, he does this every day for a living. He knows what he's talking about. It's just, it's amazing. But you want to listen to somebody who really knows their crap. You listen to people that are older than you and listen to Robert Milton. Guys, definitely watch his video. If you're looking to start a business and you want to do it the right way and you want to limit your liability, make sure that everything's covered, your family's covered, your property's covered, and you're not going to get yourself in trouble, check out Robert Milton. I'm going to get ready to cut some firewood. And maybe I'll splice in a video of this thing. This thing right now is so sharp. And if you want to figure out how to sharpen like me, watch some of my sharpening videos, because it's not rocket science like it is at NASA, where it actually is rocket science. I like it when Robert Milton says, well, actually, I am a rocket scientist. And his wife is. And his daughter is. Very smart people. But enough talking. That's probably an hour's worth of talking. I hope you guys have a great day. And I think I'll put the video up of the unboxing too. I think you might see this video first. But I'll put the video up of the unboxing of the molder planer head for the sawmill, and it shows in that video kind of what it makes and stuff that we haven't even figured out yet. And hopefully we'll have it on there someday and we'll get back to milling. Hope you guys have a great day. Like, share, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, hit the thumbs down, whatever you want, but leave a comment, interact, hit the little notifications bell so you know when something's coming out from us. And for now, Pirate Solutions out.